I had to get out of that situation. I had to. Now I have children. I have
Mhm.
babies, and I
Mm.
didn't want any of what happened to me. I just wanted to make sure that I broke that vicious cycle that
Mm.
had started within. It had been going on for generations,
Mm.
within our family. So I had to break that cycle, and I'm very happy that I was able to do that.
Welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss, a podcast dedicated to women from all walks of life. Whether you're navigating through loss, seeking growth, or simply looking for a place to feel understood, you've come to the right space. Each week, we provide compassionate guidance, share diverse stories, and offer practical advice to help you heal, grow, and thrive. No matter where you are on your journey, we're here to walk with you. Let's grow together.
Hello, here we are, Female Voices. This is Teresa Reiniger.
And I'm Wayna Berry.
And we have a special guest with us today, Newoka LaShelle.
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome. Let me say a little bit about her, and we're going to get rolling right away here. She's an executive director of Senior Services of Eastern Missouri, LLC, based in St. Louis, Missouri. Yay, we love St. Louis. She says, we are a private duty, non-medical, in-home care agency specializing in memory care management, respite care, and hospice support. And we're going to talk about all the other things that you shared with us on your little bio. But welcome to our podcast. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah.
I met Newoka. We were both on a family-to-family support group for NAMI. And so I knew that she shared our vision of how important mental health is and how important it is to share your journey to help others. So that's why I thought, man, she would be a good person to be on Female Voices, Life and Loss. So, as we know, NAMI is a national alliance on mental illness, and my own journey with, kind of depression, anxiety after divorce and trauma-filled childhood just led me down that deep well to learn more. And so volunteering with NAMI really helps me fill that bucket of wanting to educate and things like that. So Newoka, how was it for you? How did you get connected to NAMI?
Well, I started off as a volunteer with the Independence Center in St. Louis, and I got involved with their Speakers Bureau. I can't remember exactly who. I did have an interview, and they did publish it on their website, but someone from the Independence Center mentioned NAMI, and I had never heard of it. And so I normally can't wait for something, so I just took it upon myself to contact NAMI, and I ended up getting invited to Jefferson City for the leaves, and it was in June or July of 2016, and I have been a volunteer ever since.
Yeah.
Wow, you just decided to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Go. I love that. That says a lot. Tells me a lot about you, for sure.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So tell us a little bit, just about your journey at that time,
Well, I've been living in Marietta, Georgia for about 10 years. And I was very, very satisfied with what I had built for my life. I went from homeless and then ended up living in a beautiful home in Marietta, Georgia. I still have dreams about that house. I had no plans on coming back to St. Louis, but my children are here. Most of my family is here, and my children were separated. So they really just didn't want to stay in Georgia. So I ended up coming back to St. Louis, and I've always been interested in volunteer work ever since I was about 12 years old. Started my first volunteer job with Annie Malone Children's Home. And I would get out of school. It was my way of just learning some work skills so that I could get a job. I didn't care what type of job it was, as long as it was legal. And so I guess my journey.
It's 12. It's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I'm going to learn as much as I can at 12. I love it.
Yes. I mean, I really didn't have a choice. I think that's one of the reasons why I started to, I would say that my childhood brought me on this journey that I'm on right now. I'm almost 50 years old, and I am very excited to be a grandmother, and I have 2 adult children, 2 beautiful cats. They're black. They're my emotional support. And so because of my childhood, it brought me down this path. And I've just been, it was rough for me, even when I came back to St. Louis, because like I said, I was depressed. I didn't want to be here. I was doing very well in Georgia, but when you don't have family there for support, it makes it a little bit harder. So here I am.
Are you comfortable sharing some of the childhood that led to the homelessness? Like, how did you get there?
Absolutely. I try my best not to traumatize people when I do tell my story. So it depends on the platform. And I did say that I didn't want to traumatize, but I don't know how much you want me to share, but I'm an open book.
I feel like we all can learn from your journey. Yeah. It's up to you where you feel comfortable. I think our shoulders are, wide enough,
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
You're all right.
So I ended up publishing a book entitled Karma's Dirty Secrets. It's a memoir. It's about the first 35 years of my life. And the trauma that I experienced when I was growing up, it had a lot to do with my parents. They were not ready for children. I think one of my parents was 15, the other one was maybe 16 when I was born. So my great grandparents raised myself and my mother. My great grandfather was also in the home, and he was just a big, huge support for me when I was growing up. It was just like the best moments of my childhood I can recall him being in my life. He was that one person that supported everything that I wanted to do. So if I'm drawing on the walls, he's telling me no, but he's buying me the crayons and the paints and the pictures and the stuff that I need in order to continue my artistic endeavors that I was trying to get. He just encouraged me to read. He also encouraged me to do things on my own, be more independent. I used to go downtown with him all the time. And that's how I learned to catch a bus, the public transportation. So I would say by the time I was 13, I had my first job. I was at Baskin & Robbins, $3.18 an hour. I walked to work after school. Didn't get home until maybe right at midnight. So I did have to walk. It's like 20 blocks that I had to walk. So even when it was cold out. At the time, the only thing I could think of was that $3.18 an hour.
I could do anything for money. Yeah.
That was my motivation. So there were a lot of older people in our neighborhood, mostly elderly people. So one of the ways that I would make money before I was off doing the volunteer work and getting my first job, I would go to neighbors' houses and I would say, I would take out your trash for maybe a quarter, or even I remember. Yeah. Long time ago it started. So my great grandmother, she was born in 1906. My great grandfather was born January 1st, 1905. And I just remember when some bad things started happening to me. There was molestation that was starting. I believe I can remember as far back as 5 years old. It probably started before then. I wouldn't know, but I do remember going really far back. And I remember telling my great grandmother about it. She said, "We don't talk about things like that." So it continued. And then it got to the point to where I would tell other people, and I was completely ignored. They call it
at this time that you were trying to, alert people that something's wrong.
Right. So just being ignored and with this continuing to happen, I was getting raped.
Oh my gosh.
it was, when I tell you, just thinking back on it, I think about all of the things that did happen. And so let me tell you, it's a card that they play. I can't remember. I wrote about it in my book, and I can't remember exactly what I called it. But they'll try to silence you by saying you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're schizophrenic, or well, maybe I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but I'm just saying,
You did.
well, they just start saying, giving you
Label.
diagnosis. You're,
Yeah.
what did they say? What else did they say? Um, bipolar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've never been diagnosed with either one of those. I was diagnosed with PTSD
Yeah.
from
Of course.
trauma,
Yeah.
Of course.
and the depression was there because it was in a situation to where adults were not hearing me. They were ignoring me, and I was being silenced by being called all of these, uncomfortable things.
Mm-hmm.
So what I ended up doing was acting out. I would run away from home.
Yeah.
I had friends that parents would allow me to stay.
Good.
Um, I had teachers that kind of took me under their wing as well. And then when I started working at the age of 13, I left Baskin and Robbins and I went to the mall. It was the St. Louis Center at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really excited when the Gap hired me at $4.25 an hour. And I was moving up. So,
Now we understand why there was a sense of urgency around earning money, and I gotta kind of make a way for myself because you were experiencing that abuse at home. What age were you realized what was going on and you tried to advocate for yourself?
um, I think it was after I was 10 years old, and it was after my great grandmother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was a bit of a shield, even though she said we don't talk about things like that. I still, we would get up every morning. My great grandfather would have breakfast done. By the time I came in the evening for dinner, we had the greens and the cornbread, and it was a cozy home. It was just that things was happening to me when I wasn't there at the home. I may have been at another relative's house or something like that.
Wow.
It was the first time that I had experienced death, as far as losing somebody. So that was
Mhm.
another,
Yeah.
it was just difficult because now I was just left with my great grandfather. He was already in his 80s.
Mm.
So he couldn't walk me to school anymore or anything like that. And so he was really confined to being at home. And I do believe that he may have had some dementia going on, even
Yeah.
though I didn't know that that's what the word was then. But
Right.
once he was put into a nursing home, that's when all hell broke loose. That's when the wolves really started to come out.
Oh my God. When you say that, what does that look like?
I was abducted by a stranger on my way to school one morning. It was about 4 blocks that I had to walk to my bus stop. So I had to be on my bus stop at 6:10 in the morning. So it's still dark out. It was a bad area to live in. But a man came from out of nowhere. I don't know. I don't remember seeing him around or anything. He abducted me. He raped me and he left me for dead in between abandoned houses that were down Sumner High School area.
Mm-hmm.
So I pretended to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
He was hitting me in the head. I had a butt of an axe. So the axe wasn't on there, the actual blade, but I walked with it thinking that I could, just in case somebody does something to me, but I'm only probably about 89 pounds
Right.
or whatever. So this guy overpowered me and I pretended to be dead, and that's how I survived.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I mean when I say that.
Yeah. Man, what courage that took to take that violence against you, sexual and physical, and just still have the wherewithal to say, "Hey, I'm gonna just lay here and maybe I could survive." Oh wow, that's powerful.
So how did you end up getting out of that situation? Obviously, you were on your way to school.
Yes,
You said you did not go that day.
I did
So
not.
who was there since your grandparents are now gone, or your great grandparents? Who did you go to for support and help after that situation?
There were still people that lived in the home. My great aunt, my great uncle. So there were still people that were there. Actually, my great grandfather at that time, he was still there, but
Okay.
it wasn't nothing. It really wasn't anything that he could do. We didn't have a phone at home. So
Okay.
later on that morning, when it was daylight outside, I did call the police, and um, they contacted my mother. My mother was in Alton, Illinois. They told her that it's not the first time they picked me up out there, which was, I would say, is true, because there was times to where I would be trying to survive. There was times where I didn't have anything to eat, so I did try to sell drugs at one point. I believe at that time I was between 16 and 17 years old, and I ate during the winter time. We didn't have heat. So I know you're not supposed to do this, but I mean, they didn't really verify anything. I had the bill put in my name, and I would, with the little jobs and with the little money that I had, I would pay bills. I mean, I was trying to do the very best that I could. And for one, survive, not freeze to death, not starve, and try to keep myself as safe as possible, because things were continuing to still happen even through all of that.
Wow. How do you remain kind of hopeful as a a preteen, as a teen, to have that motivation to figure a way out?
Um, After the 8th grade, I decided that I was going to sign myself out of school. I was in the Parkway School District at the time, and there were, I believe, at least 2 teachers that tried to talk me out of it, because I was just going to enroll myself into Sumner High School. It's right down the street from where I was living. And I figured, okay, I still want to get my education. My great grandfather did tell me, no matter what, always try to have something to fall back on. Learn as many different skills as you possibly can. And I did. I took that advice, and I figured, okay, I'm going to continue to go to school. But then I get to Sumner High School, and you would not believe it. Teachers treated me probably just as bad. I was bullied by not just students, but adults as well. Teachers, it was just unbelievable to me. I was told by one of the teachers, do not think you're better than anybody else because you came from the county.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I went to Normandy High School, and my mother taught us to speak very, very, very proper. And so you can imagine what that looked like daily. So I'm not shocked. And I've also been a school counselor, and I've witnessed teachers talking that way to some students, and it's just mind-boggling. Like, why would you just? It's crazy.
So when did things shift for you? Obviously, you are doing super well now, and so at one point, if you're doing drugs and people, being raped, molested, I mean, almost killed. Like, when did things shift for you?
I'm named after my aunt. She's my father's sister. Her name is Newoka. She was just newly married. So her and her husband at the time did not have children, and they allowed me to come live with them. I was given a really nice bedroom. I had a nice little bed to sleep on. I had teddy bears and pretty clothes, and they allowed me to be a teenager. And I ended up going to regular high school. I've been to so many different high schools. I have still keep in contact with a lot of different people, but Berkeley High School was one of them. Like I said, I went to Sumner, I went to Parkway, I went to a school, it was a magnet school at the time, management, law, and public policy. They are no longer in business, but they were downtown at the time. And back then, I thought that maybe that was just a really fancy high school to go to. And it wasn't very many people there, but I do still have contact with one of the gentlemen that I did go to school with those many years ago. And so with my aunt and my uncle, I would say that's when things really started to turn around for me, to have more hope. And there was no more molestation stuff going on, or there was family events. Like, for example, if it was a family reunion and I might say, I don't want to go. And they're like, you're going. So they insisted that I get out and actually be around other family members, which was really his side, my uncle's side of the family, very close knit family. So I got to see that. We had family meetings. Me and my uncle would sometimes fight over the last biscuit, but back then I really liked to eat.
Yeah, because you've experienced starvation. You've experienced what it is not to have enough,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I
So,
love that though. So they really tried to show you a structure. Like this is what family is really, really about, and not
yep.
what you saw.
But then I would get a wild hair, and
Yeah,
sometimes I didn't want the rules, and I would leave, and I would be back out there.
Teenagers.
yeah. That sounds about.
Teenagers, absolutely.
And by this time, you had lived most of your life without rules, so it is a challenge to make that transition to this is what's actually supposed to be good for me.
Yep. It's I'm telling you, it's the truth, and I thank them to this day for being in my life. I learned a lot. My uncle's a musician, so he plays in bands, and they go out, and sometimes I may get a chance to go and watch him play. So that's one of the reasons why I have just indulged in myself into music and the arts. I also played the piano for a little bit. My great grandfather encouraged me to do that. I can still play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That's about it.
That's more than I can do. I can't do it.
That's a great song to start your granddaughter.
Oh, sweet.
Start her on. You teach her.
Yep.
And then maybe she'll teach you.
Oh, she's teaching me already. She's 4.
Those girls are so smart.
At the beginning, I shared that you're the executive director for a senior service. Where did that come? I mean, we're jumping probably from teenage years. I'm assuming you graduated and married at some point. Share with us a little bit about that and walk us through what you're doing now.
Okay. Well, senior services, I'm an agency owner. So when I was growing up, I remember I said how there were older people in our neighborhood. So that caregiving part of me kind of came from just childhood. And so in 2016, I made it official as far as like a business, because at the time I did not have a vehicle when I started looking for applying with agencies. You had to have a car and you had to have insurance, and I didn't have either one of them. So I found my very first private client. I went from $0 to $1,800 a week. That was the first time that I had made that much money in my life. I was very excited about that. But I was 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. So if you can just, the hourly is probably not going to be matching up, but $1,800 a week is not bad for somebody who had nothing. So I kind of make sure that I keep my volunteer stuff going as well, along with my business. Honestly, I know over 50 jobs throughout my teenage years it's because I moved around a lot. So it was very easy for me to get a job. And sometimes I didn't have the money, so I used the yellow pages. And I will call up a store that I might want to work at, and I'll say, "Hi, my name is Newoka Baker. It's Newoka LaShelle. My last name is Baker." I say, "Hi, my name is Newoka Baker, and I applied at your store on Wednesday, and I was calling to follow up with my application." They'll go look for the application. I know it's not there. Okay. But they'll come and say, well, can you come in on Thursday for an interview at 3:00? And I'm like, yeah. So that's how I found my page.
Wow. Well, and I want to just, if there's younger listeners listening, Yellow Pages used to be a phone book that we had that everybody's number was in, and you could find
address.
We don't really have that anymore. I love that you just the initiative to do that. And that's how things were done, years ago. In small places. You went in, put an application in. Now things are totally different. And we won't go into that, but I love that you just took that initiative to just do it. That's wow. Good for you.
Thank you. I learned a lot from the jobs that I had. I only had one manager, actually two, that knew my real age, because I had used my mom's.
Oh,
She had a handwritten birth certificate that was stuck down in one of the phone books. So I practiced the handwriting, and then I used whiteout, and I took it to, at the time it was Schnucks, and I used their copy machine, and I made my birth certificate mine to say that I was at least 16 to get a job or 18 to get a job.
I did
And
it too.
I had
wow.
my real social security card, and I was two of those managers that took me under their wing. One was at Victoria's Secret. I was actually 14 when I was there, maybe 15 when I was at Victoria's Secret in the mall. And she would try to give me as many hours as possible and even give me a ride home a lot of the times. Then I had another manager that it was called Scribbles and Giggles. I've been everywhere: Famous Bar, Dillard's, Macy's. I mean,
Wow.
gosh, you name it. Foot Locker, Lady Foot Locker. I've been all over the place. But with Scribbles and Giggles, that manager, I had a black eye when I came into work one day, and she pulled me to the back and she wanted to know what happened. And she said, I need for you to tell me what's going on with you, or I'm going to have to call somebody. So I did tell her what happened. Like I said, I was abused. And I didn't fight back then. Now, after a while, I did start to fight back, but most of the time I didn't. I was just take the beating and go on about my business. But once she said that, I finally told her, and then I remember her just giving me as many hours as possible to just try to make as much money as I possibly could. Like I said, back then, $4.25. I'm telling you, I thought I was on top of the world. So
you were on top of the world then. You were. Oh, good for you. I love all the people that took you under their wing, all the mentors, from your great grandparents to store managers to all of them. And it's touching my heart. I'm like, there are good people in this world. They're all over the place. And I love that so many of them touched their life.
yes, absolutely.
Warmed my heart.
I'm back on Teresa's, like, where does this get better? Those little twinkles of hope that are coming. We got it from the managers that are checking in on us, that are trying to help us as much as they can in their power. But what else is inspiring you to keep going?
My son's father, at one point, I was introduced to him through my mother. And about a year later, we ended up having my son. I was about 19 years old when I got pregnant with my first child. So I was 20 years old when I had my first son. I found an apartment situation. It was an income-based apartment. And I applied for it. A few months later, they came in to do like a walkthrough of the home that I was living in, which was not very good place where I was at that time. But I got the apartment. It was a 1-bedroom apartment at Castle Park. And then I finally had a safe home of my own to live in with my son.
Wow.
And then I ended up dating a police officer. My son's father and I, we didn't work out. So I started dating a police officer. Actually, I was dating a dentist. I thought it was more fun to hang out with the police officer more than the dentist. I thought maybe law enforcement, they're going to be protective of their significant others. And my daughter came along after that. This was his first child. So he was very excited. We were engaged to be married, but it didn't work out. That's a whole nother story because he ended up being very abusive as well. I didn't really know a lot about my background. He didn't find out about the bad things that I went through until after many years after it was like over for us. But and he asked me why I never told him.
Like, why would I?
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was that's when I decided that I'm going to leave St. Louis. I did have therapy and therapists and was seeing counselors and all of that. Decided that I wasn't going to take that medication anymore because I was like a walking zombie on some of that stuff.
Feeling nothing.
Yeah, it's. I remember what the manager called me a space cadet because I couldn't even fax stuff right. It was bad. But When I moved, I decided I just saved money for several months, and I ended up leaving in 2003, and I moved to Georgia. I didn't have the money at the time. I took about 6 trips to Georgia by myself to look at places, and I found this place, and the owner of this townhouse, he just allowed me to move in. He gave me the keys while I was there, and that was like the best move that I think I could have made at that time, because it was away from one of my therapists recommended. She said, change your environment and the people that are around you, and it made a world of difference.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this really nice townhouse, and I was there for about maybe 2 years.
To point out, there's so many twinkles, like God smiled on you, God winked on you, just from having the wherewithal at 19 to find a low income place. Who has the kids now with Google and everything cannot seem to find resources, and you were like, I'm gonna figure it out. I got my baby. I'm gonna figure it out. And then you get your place, you do your dating. You're like, yeah, I'm not feeling them. So, and then you're like, well, after therapy and all these things, I think I might go ahead and move out of state. Who, you don't know how much that takes to have that much motivation and drive at a goal of peace and safety and serenity. And I'm just gonna keep climbing. That
Yeah.
is like amazing.
Thank
So much
you.
strength.
Yes.
Thank you. It was either that or stay in the situation that I was in, and I didn't want to be here at one point, because if it was going to continue to be that way, I tried to go out of here by my own hand. And when I woke up, I was in the hospital. I was there for 33 days at Barnes on the adolescent unit. And I just figured if I wasn't, that was the motivation for me to do something else. I had to get out of that situation. I had to, now I have children, I have babies, and I didn't want any of what happened to me. I just wanted to make sure that I broke that vicious cycle that had started within, it had been going on for generations, within our family. So I had to break that cycle, and I'm very happy that I was able to do that.
Yeah, because we do notice there's so many people that never even strive to break those cycles. They don't even see it as cycles many times.
Like, this is life.
This is how it is. This is how we do it. And just like Lorena was saying, just to all of these little moments that I believe, and Lorena believes, and you probably believe that those God winks, those God moments that were there to continue to inspire you to break those generational cycles. I just commend you for that. I mean, not everyone will do that, and so that's amazing. And I love that you're sharing that with other people. That is the way to support and help other people, empower them to do the same.
Actually, Georgia was just, I had a lot of fun there. I got involved with spoken word poetry, and we used to do it here in St. Louis, where you go out and they would have an establishment where you go and meet up with people and you have open mic. Well, this was around the time of 9/11 when this happened. When I went to Georgia, I got involved with online radio shows that would have you to be able to call in. It was Rebel Poetry, based in Las Vegas. And I started calling in there, and then they made me like their communications director. And it was like a way for me to get some experience. And so I was doing that. And then I came across the co-founder of Def Poetry Jam, Mr. Bruce George. If you are familiar with Russell Simmons, they used to have the poetry show on, I think it was called the Def Poet Jam, that was seen on HBO. And so I just got into the cabaret show bars, and I was a female impersonator. So I was the only female on this all male cast of drag queens. And they would just make it, I just really did extra makeup. Like I would do the cute outfits, and I lip sync, and I was getting paid to lip sync, just $150 just to lip sync 3 songs. I was okay with that. And
Exactly. Shoot.
and also I would do open mic poetries at the Cabaret Show Bar and do something a little bit different, like for example, find some really talented drag queens to perform in between the open mics,
Mhm.
invite people out and things like that. So before I came back to St. Louis, I got involved with Blog Talk Radio. So I did have my own show as well,
Mm.
to have people call into the show. And they would call in from all over, or I would have them to send me their MP3s or MP4s. And we don't want dead air. So when we take a break, I can play a 4-minute open mic poetry from and introduce who it is. So I've
Mhm.
had the opportunity to interview different authors from different book genres, and just that was like the most fun that I think that I've ever had with earning money. And then my
Mhm.
business partner back then, she made candles.
Mhm.
We had candles that actually looked like pancakes, or it would be a big cake. We cut a slice out of it, and so the slice of cake is a candle, and
Yeah.
cut the cake is a candle. We had drinks, candles. We had fishbowl candles. She did most of the photography, and I would do the graphic design. So I learned how to do website designs and things like that because I called around and I was asking, how much would it cost for you to do a website for me? And this is what I need. And that
Yeah.
man was like $2,800. I'm like, well, let me figure out how to do this myself. What I did. So that became a business. So I had a digital multimedia company called A Dream Play Productions LLC when I was in Georgia,
Mhm.
and we started off just taking we would film my performances, and then other people saw that we were filming the performances and asked if I would do the same thing for them. But once I came back to St. Louis, they don't necessarily want to pay for photography like they do in Georgia. Everybody wants to be a star or something in Georgia. It's like the Black Hollywood from what they call it.
I haven't, but
Yeah. So that's
wow. Wow.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Just having an opportunity
Yeah.
to be creative and meeting all these different creative people, and you guys are just poured into each other, and sounds exciting and really fun.
Mhm.
and I'm not starstruck. There were, and I have pictures of people I didn't even know they were considered to be famous. I didn't know who they were. My business partner had to tell me who they were. I'm like, oh, okay. So
Oh, they're fair. Oh, really? Oh.
right. We had VIP passes. So we would be able to get in and take pictures of celebrities and that were out. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pussycat Dolls, but I do have pictures of them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I think that if I could ever go back to it, I probably wouldn't as far as making money, I'd probably do it for myself, as far as
Mhm.
rebuilding and rebranding my business, because I am doing
Mhm.
that. So, and this is really exciting to even be able to come on a show like this and be able to share my story with hopes that it will help someone else.
Yeah.
I actually have chills right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's your story is powerful, and we did not get into the weeds with it. So I
No,
definitely,
they read the book,
yeah, I'm definitely not the book, so I can fill
right?
in the book for myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's definitely beautiful, and I just can't imagine your children just knowing your journey and just seeing you on the other side. How impactful that is.
yeah.
Mhm.
I really appreciate them. My daughter is married,
Mhm.
and her husband were in the military. They are back here in Missouri now. They live about 45 minutes from me, so
Mhm.
that's tight for me. But and they have my grandbaby
Mhm.
and my son. We both share the townhouse that I'm in now
Mhm.
because I don't want to be by myself.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
Say
Nice.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Shoot. The way
So I went.
you
Yeah.
are.
So I want you to share a little bit what you do. What is the Senior Services Eastern Missouri? Like, what do you do there as their executive director? Let's talk a little bit about that before we end.
okay, so I do everything.
Okay.
I do the administrative part of it. It could be advertising, marketing, payroll, business
Okay.
taxes, hiring and training. I have to look for people. If I have a client, at one point I was overwhelmed with clients, and it was mainly word of mouth. I have worked with all different types of clients from all walks of life. I've worked with very wealthy people,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, just paid generously. I'm in the field as a caregiver, and I am also doing all of the administrative parts of to keep the business going. I don't necessarily have to hire somebody. If I have two clients, there was one point I was working 7 days, 12 hours a day once again, but it started off at maybe $20 an hour, and before I left, it was at $28 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So just I do it all. um,
Yeah, that
What
doesn't surprise me
Right.
at all.
She can do it and she's going to do it. What I do love is that you do both hats. So when you are hiring people, you do know what it takes to do that job. Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who own businesses or over people or manage people, and they have never done that job.
yeah,
So you know, and you're like, no, this is how it's supposed to go. You know.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I
Um,
do love that, and it shows that you have, a passion for that population and for the work that you do.
I do.
Yeah.
And it shows, and I'm sure people when they meet you, they can feel that, that passion. I
Um,
imagine it feels a little bit like being connected to your grandparent, your great grandparents too.
absolutely. Yeah.
I had experience like that. My great aunt was sick, and so she got a knee replacement. So I'm feeding her, and I'm thrown back to when my grandmother, who is her sister, when I was feeding my grandma when she, right when she was that age. So it's just a sweet moment. So I imagine that may feel like that for you when you having those guys, those
Absolutely.
seasoned individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
I will never forget. There's a lady that I normally worked overnights. So, and most overnight positions, they require you to be awake overnight. So imagine like just being on a 12-hour shift. Sometimes I work a 16-hour shift
Oof.
if somebody needed to call off or
Mhm.
whatever. But this lady was very interesting. She was blind. And whenever I would go spend time with her, I would read poetry to her. And then she
Mm-hmm.
would write some poetry that she knew to me. We would listen to audiobooks and audio stories.
Mhm.
And she was just so much fun. And her family, it was very difficult because when she was hospice.
Mhm.
Um, and I just remember that last night that I was with her, that morning, it's almost like a glow came from her. She just glowed.
Mm-hmm.
And she passed away on Mother's Day. So she was able to hold out until Mother's Day. But
Mhm.
I'll tell you that I will never forget her. The family invited me to her memorial, and I wrote a poem called The Porch
Mhm.
because she had this area in her home that was a porch, and it had so many wonderful things. I call them knickknacks. So they would be like little porcelain
Mm-hmm.
rabbit, books and toys, and I guess from her great grandkids or great great grandkids. But it was a lot of stuff that was there. And I just wanted to say that this is my calling. And I'll end it with that. But that this is my calling. This is something that I think that I would want to do for the rest of my life if I could.
Awesome.
That is
Awesome.
beautiful.
Mm-mm-mm. Have you ever, just curious, as caregivers, sometimes we get, especially if there's dementias, Alzheimer's, all of that. Do you ever get, it's very common, I think, to get burnt out. And from just listening to you, I don't really hear that, but is there sometimes some burnt out and some difficult times when you're working with um, caregiving for other people? What do you do? You're nodding your head, so I'm assuming this happens to you as well. So what are those self-care practices? What are the things that you do to help with that caregiving burnout or difficult times?
I'm really glad you asked that question because that's one thing that I hear Sometimes caregivers burn out, and then the next thing you know, they're being abusive to their client. Well,
Yes.
that has never happened to me, but I
Okay,
was
good.
burnt out from working so many hours at one point that I ended up in the hospital. So I wasn't taking care of myself. And I worked my last two clients that I had, they were both hospice, and they passed away within, I would say, 2 weeks of one another. I was actually on shift within my client was deceased, I believe, when I arrived. The caregiver, maybe she didn't know, but she just left. And after that, I took the time off, and it may be for several months in order to rejuvenate and maybe find something else to do until I'm ready to go back and have private clients again. But that's what I've been able to do. I've been able to just sometimes just take my time and before I go back and have another client. And that's been helping me to not have the burnout that I was feeling before. I'm not working 250 hours a month like I was before. I was the go-to person when I was at agencies, because if somebody would call off, I was the person that they would call to go. I just got off. I just did a 12-hour shift. I haven't been asleep for 2 hours, and they're calling me to come in for, as soon as you can get there type situations. I don't allow people to do that to me anymore either.
Good for you. Good for you. Some boundaries set.
Boundaries.
And you have to have them. And I love that you take time off when you're reaching that point where we had recently a gal come on, and she talks about her sabbatical that she takes every year. And that is important. That's important to have that awareness and take that time off so that you can be the best that you can be.
Absolutely.
Especially for, we've already talked about the older generation and caring for them, because when it doesn't happen, the abuse and all those other things happen. And I really do believe, like you indicated, a lot of that is the burnout.
Yeah. I had to learn to say no.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
No, sometimes those are lifelong battles right there, because you learn it in your marriage, you learn it with your girlfriends or guy friends, and then you got to learn it with your kids, and then you got to learn it with your kids again when they're adults. And then, then you got to learn again with your parents, because now you got to take care of your parents, and they are now your new children.
Yep, it's absolutely.
It's like, has a very good sense of humor,
Yeah.
Provides all these opportunities for us to constantly improve.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if Lorena has other questions, but I do want to touch a little bit, because the podcast is Female Voices Life and Loss, and we've talked a lot about your life. We've talked about specifically some loss of your great-grandparents, but I know that there has been loss throughout all of that, the loss of what your childhood you thought it was going to be, and just, just everything, the life of being with, your children's fathers, there's loss there. So anything that you want to share about, I'm going to say, numerous losses in your life, how do you, as a woman, kind of navigate those, or if they've just been pushed away because you have a goal to achieve, to change generational curses, or where is grief kind of fallen for you and all of that?
Well, I used to think about wanting to be married at one point in my life. And I know some couples that I just absolutely adore. From the outside looking in, they look perfect. I just really, look up to that. But I think that what has happened with me, because of all of the traumatic things that have happened to me, it's going to be, I'm a difficult person to date. Probably will never get married. And like I said, I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm not looking to be married to anybody.
Good for you, girl.
Pretty sure it's fun, because I think that's for me, that's loss.
But I'm content over here. I'm content. I love that though, because you meet so many women that are like, I'm in my 50s, I've never been married, nobody loves me. I'm like, love yourself. That's,
Yep. I agree. So my best friend of 25 years, if I was to ever get married, it probably would have been him if he was available, but he's not. We've been just the best buddies, and I mean, this guy can finish my sentences. He can look at my face and pretty much tell what I'm thinking. We have our own codes and language that we have. So it's definitely a loss for me because people approach me and I have an excuse. I mean, sometimes I'm married, but I'm not. I mean, I may say that, hey, I'm married because it's a lot for me because when I have dated, I noticed that the first thing they want to talk about, you don't even know me. I mean, you just met me and you want to talk about sex already.
Yeah, they're lustful.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the only, can't think of anything else to talk about.
Even 60-year-olds.
Yes. And it's not just that. I've noticed with, older people as well, text messages, right? I can't even for the life of them either can't spell or
they even do a text message at this age. Pick up a phone. That's for the younger generation.
Yeah, I know. I mean, even if you do get them,
try to communicate. Like, let's just try. I'm with you. I'm with you because I counsel women about dating in these season years, and it's garbage.
It's my loss. I mean, I really wish that I want to go to the boathouse, and I love to cook. So that would be fun to do stuff like that with my man, but I don't have a man. So I have cats.
Do that with girlfriends. Hey, if you're cooking, Luane, are you in?
Oh,
we're in. We're in because we don't cook.
Oh, wow.
You let us know. We'll be there.
Yeah, domestic stuff. Okay, I'm busy.
I've been told I have really good meatloaf. Today salmon stuffed with seafood. That's what I'm having today, and I have lemons.
It's Easter. What are you?
Yeah. Awesome.
Sweet. No, that's sweet. But I would say, Newoka, just be open, because the stars align. I'm going to tell you, my church member, she is probably in her 70s. And she looks great. So, it's hard to tell with a lot of people. So I think she's in her 70s. But she literally just got married like 3 years ago. Another believer in church. They did the Christian way of just courting and things in public. So we're not being lustful and things like that. Group dates and stuff. So I'm just be open. The Lord might see somebody sweep you off your feet and say, you don't ever have to work again. I just want to spend my last days taking care of you.
Wow, that'd be nice.
Do it. I'm saying, be open. You don't win if you don't play.
I would like, before we conclude, for you to speak to those people that are listening who are facing diversity, because you have faced that big time. What would you encourage them? What insight would you give them? Let's conclude kind of with that. Like, what would you share with them? Besides, just keep going and figuring it out, because that's what I think. So you are doing.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, share some encouraging or insights for them.
Okay, well, I would say what I try to do is practice the elements of self. And what that looks like is self-discipline, self-esteem, self-motivated. And I try to practice those things, and I make goals for myself. So if you can make goals for yourself, and I'll say write it down, or with the digital technology now, you just create a list of things that you might want to do. It could be a 1-year goal, it could be a 5-year goal, and plan the things that will take for you to get there. Whether it be you want to finish maybe a trade school, or get involved in volunteer work to where you can learn a new skill, and use any resources that are out there. There's so many resources out here that we can utilize, especially here in Missouri, because when I was in Georgia, I noticed that there were not a lot of resources. My kids, I ended up homeschooling my son because the schools were not all that good there in the area that we were in. You can get some of those resources through, let's say, the Missouri Department of Children and Family Services may have a listing of things that you might need. For example, if you need an attorney, maybe legal aid. It's just so many resources, and I really can't remember all of them because I did work in social services at one point for the state. I was an income maintenance caseworker at one point, and then I also worked in child support enforcement. And so when I say that there are resources, all you have to do is just contact, like I said, your state social services office is one way. I would say also confide in someone that you trust, that you can talk to. I normally would just go with like I said, those resources where they have somebody that you can talk to on a professional level, because you can talk to people, but you don't want your business all over the place. So that's why the HIPAA laws are in place. If you find a person that you can talk to, and someone who's not going to be judgmental or what have you, do everything you can to take care of your mental health, and your mental health is very important. NAMI has a warm line, or it's just a line where you can call and actually talk to somebody, and you don't have to pay anything for that. So, and if you are having issues with people who are being abusive to you, I would say that do whatever you can to get yourself out of that situation, because if a person is abusive, I don't believe that it's going to get any better. I believe that if you can do whatever you can to get yourself out of that situation, and be the best you can be.
Great advice. Things that obviously you have done, and I love that you are encouraging and sharing all of that. So, Lena, you have any other questions? I was just going to have her share about the name of the book, where it's available. Are there 2 different books that you have, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Share the names of your books again before we conclude.
Okay. So one is entitled Karma's Dirty Secrets. It's a memoir. You can find it online. It's when I actually self-published the book, I was very angry when I published the book, and I had no idea that it was going to end up all over the place. So you can find it on the Barnes and Noble website. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on eBay. Books a Million. It's just out there, and I don't even get royalties for it anymore. I don't know who's buying or what.
Okay.
And I normally don't even push the book anymore, because all the people that I needed to read that book was written for closure. And I didn't say any names, but it ruffled feathers, and it got the attention that it needed to get. Good. So I'm very happy with that. Now, the other one is Old Poet Valley. And I will tell you now, you can find it online. It is on Scribd. It's scribd.com. It's Old, ODE, Poet, POET, Valley, VALLEY, by Newoka LaShelle. And Old Poet Valley it's more of poetry, and it's a lot of things of what I wrote was about reminding myself how to keep going, reminding myself, writing poetry that I know exactly what it means. It's something to remind me of, this is what, don't go through that, or don't you learn a lesson from things. I don't know if I can explain it right, but I would like to share a poem with you, if I could, of one that I did write. This piece is entitled Think Sister. When you stroll down the street, keep your head held high. Know in your mind at all times that you are a great Black woman. Don't settle now for any old thing. Look for quality is what I mean. In that old looking glass, smile to yourself. What a beautiful woman, and how I take care of myself. Say please and thank you, for it's only being polite. But of course, now you all knew that, right? Don't be a user, for you might be the one to get used. Who cares what kind of car he drives if he treats it better than you? Have your peace of mind and share it too. Pray to the Lord when you have the blues. Continued success in all that you do. Just remember, I'm your big sister and I love you. End poem.
I love that. So we will link all of those. We'll put all that information in the show notes so that people are looking for either of those books. They can find them easily. So
Yes.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, this has been a blessing and a real treat. Newoka's journey, sadly, is a journey that I know so well myself and so many of the women that I do know. But the strength and the courage to persevere is just beautifully, beautifully stated. And
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Female Voices Life and Loss. We hope today's conversation brought you comfort, insight, and a sense of community. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might need it. Stay connected, stay resilient, and until next time, keep growing and healing.